This winter I got my ice diver certification by completing 3 certification dives on a frozen lake in Minnesota. We cut a hole in the ice and we went diving in 7mm wetsuits. The already certified people had dry suits on, so good for them. And yeah, it was an amazing experience that I would love to do again at some point. But before we were able to dive, we had quite a bit of work to do. We started by shoveling 2 rings around the hole about 25 feet and then 50 feet, and then these arrows pointing back to the hole, which the sun shines through. You can see them underneath, which you'll see in this video quite a bit, and leads you back to the hole if you were to get lost or detached from the rope that you're tied to. We built this shelter around the hole in order to stay warm in between dives, especially for those of us in wetsuits, because being out in the elements in a wetsuit would be a recipe for disaster. So we used augers to cut holes and then ice saws to cut between the holes to create the rectangle that we would then dive through. One of the ice saws worked pretty well, the blue one there. The other one, not so great. But after quite a bit of work, we had our holes cut, and then we just had to figure out how to get 2 huge blocks of ice out of the hole, which you can see here when one is broken loose and the other one is about to. We were able to lift them up with chains and a large bar and pull them out of the water that way, but I don't have video of that part. And here's the completed shelter. They're bringing in the diver chairs, which have straps and everything for the tanks so that you can get dressed and geared up easily. And then there's a separate tent for holding. I did this certification through Mixed Scuba in Moorhead, Minnesota. Another part of the class certification was that we had to learn how to tie 2 different knots, which wasn't going well here, obviously. And then everything is ready that we can start diving. Here you can see the air bubbling out from the first set of divers in the water. We had weep holes that we drilled around the building, but still a lot of air comes up through here, and warm water comes up from down below, carried up by our kicking and the water, or the air and everything else, which you can see erodes away the ice a bit. It was crazy how big the hole was by the end of everything. But my first descent, the ice was crazy clear. The water visibility was amazing for a Minnesota lake. There you can see the rings and the arrows that we've shoveled up above in the snow on the ice. It really shows up well. It's kind of incredible. Here's my instructor. I don't know why Jeff ended up floating away here. I never asked him about it. But I thought it looked really cool with him just as a shadow up above and the light coming through the spots that we had shoveled. Time for another selfie of me swimming and looking at the arrows up above. And here you can see the dark spot of one of the shelters that we created up there. That's the tent above you, which really shows how visible your ice houses are to the fish below. I had a friend tell me that someone he knows says that on certain lakes you can't catch fish out of ice houses because they see them and are scared of them. He never believed it till he saw my footage. So Jeff has given me the signal that it's time to go up, and I'm going to have to do the one skill that I have to do for this dive, which is give the signal of an emergency that I need to be pulled in and let the line tenders who are back in the shelter pull me back to the hole. So I come up and I'm looking at Jeff, and he decides that we need to get a little bit further away from the hole, so he's swimming along the ice, and then he tells me, give the tugs. So 3 tugs, and they'll start pulling me in. So I give my tugs, and I'm getting pulled in at this point, and just scooting along the ice, letting them do the work. This was actually my second dive of the certification, but because I didn't bring my camera in for the first dive, and it was pretty dark at that point because it was late in the day. We had done everyone else, and then all the construction and everything, we didn't get to me until later. So this is the second day me doing my second dive, and I'm back to the hole. There's the ladder set up for me, and that's it for dive number 1. So for dive number 2, here's my buddy in his dry suit getting down and out of my way, and then I will get down on my knees and kind of flop myself backwards into the water. Set my camera down, get it out of the way. It is strapped to my wrist so I don't lose it, and I think I have it in my hand at this point as I'm turning around. And then I'm going to flop here in just a second. Away we go. My BCD is inflated, so I stay at the surface. And I'm getting ready to descend now. You can hear the air being released from my BCD as I descend. Look how clear that thick ice is. Like, that's just insane. So my third and final dive is underway, and this time I am tethered to my buddy instead of him tethered to me, which is kind of nice because when he was tethered to me, I was kind of the guide, but I just sort of followed the instructor and didn't really look around, whereas he spent a lot of time, since he's already certified, looking around, so we saw a lot more crawfish and stuff like that I didn't spot when I was kind of in charge of where we went. So here's one of the crawfish, which, like, the crawfish we saw on these dives were some of the biggest I've ever seen in a lake in Minnesota. I was really surprised by how big they were, just chilling out down there in the rocks. Surprisingly enough, I didn't really get all that cold during the dives. I'm wearing a 7mm wetsuit and 7mm wet gloves and hood and booties, and it really wasn't too big of a problem during the dives. After my second dive, when I got out of everything, I was pretty chilled, and I could tell I was numb when I finally got in the warm shower, and everything was just tingling like crazy. Like I didn't realize it, but I could barely feel things. So clearly I did get colder than I thought, but I think most of the cold I felt was when I was outside of the water more so than when I was in it. Here's another big crawfish just chilling on the bottom, and here he's pointing out this tiny little minnow to me. I don't know how well you could see that in the video, but yeah, this guy's a little bit shy. Here you can see a big amount of bubbles all combining together under the ice. That's all from us breathing and yeah, not making its way to holes yet. So here's where he's telling me I have to do my skill for this dive. Told me to come over to him, and I dropped the camera. It's attached to my wrist so that I can do this because I have to switch to my pony bottle to breathe on ascent. And as soon as I took my regulator out of my mouth, it froze and started free flowing. So he shut my air off, and I switched to my pony bottle and got out of the water, and it all went just fine. So here I am kicking up to the surface to end my certification dives, and after this I am a certified ice diver. So of course we had to get the ice blocks off the ice back into the holes so they could freeze over, and so that's somebody didn't come hit them on a snowmobile or something like that. Thought that was pretty cool watching it splash in. And here's the thing that we use to haul pretty much everything out to the hole. And that was really a convenient tool to have to haul everything out because it was quite a bit with that shelter that we built. But that's going to be it for the video. It was a blast, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and subscribe and like for more stuff like this on the Dire Adventure channel. Thank you so much.